As many of you know, Final Fantasy is getting re-releases, also known as the Pixel Remasters, for the first 6 games in the series. The most recent of which is the Final Fantasy IV Pixel Remaster for PC, Android, and iOS, which released on September 8th, 2021, for the retail price of $17.99 in the Steam store. As a person who has been a huge fan of the original Final Fantasy IV, I picked myself up a copy on Steam to check out, see what happened, what is the differences and the changes that they have released. So my first impressions of the game were actually pretty decent. I've been a long-time SNES player of the game, and I've even played a lot of the MSU hacks. If you guys aren't familiar with those, there's a lot of really great people online that have gone out and found orchestrated soundtracks and input them into the game, and those are released in ROM format known as MSU1 hacks. This game has a very similar vibe, however, I realized that they have actually worked on some of the music and made some changes to it, which personally I don't mind too much, but I know that there is many of you out there who do not like the changes at all. They've also improved the graphics, obviously, but still retained all of the pixel qualities of the game, which was really the entire point of them doing these remasters. I like what they did to it. Everything looks nice and sharp when you're playing in standard mode, but you also have the ability to move over to a classic mode, which initially I didn't like, but as I stayed away from the screen a little bit farther and played it for a longer period of time, I became very accustomed to it. What classic mode does is add kind of fake scan lines, and it makes it feel like you're playing it on an old CRT television. It also adds kind of a little bit of a blur to everything, which softens the image up, which is also what we found a lot in old CRT televisions. Initially, it was really easy to reject, especially when you switch directly from standard to classic. After you played it for a while, it actually looks pretty decent. I mean, as decent as you could expect from it if you're into that kind of thing. I know a lot of people really hate when they try to do that in software, but I don't really mind it too much. I think that there is some merits to it. Honestly, in the battles, it makes it look pretty nice for the backgrounds and stuff when it's smoothed out a little bit. I think it actually helps the remaster quite a bit. They made a slew of changes to the game, other than just what you see visually and what you hear. They've also made the game quite a bit easier. They've taken the XP and they've made it so that you only need half as much as you generally do in order to level up. So level ups are way quicker, and I noticed that immediately. It was actually kind of wild. Also, the arrows that you used to have to use for the bows are now infinite, so you only have to buy one and you're good to go. You don't have to buy a supply. Your characters can move diagonally. You have infinite inventory, and when you run from battles, you don't suffer a penalty of losing gil. They've added an auto battle mode in, which is kind of nice if you're coming from the SNES version. It makes grinding a lot easier, but with the XP the way that it is, it's really not super necessary. I mean, overall, you're playing Final Fantasy IV, so if you liked Final Fantasy IV before, you'll probably still like it now. There hasn't been a whole lot of changes from the SNES version that you can see. It's added a few of the elements from the Game Boy and the collection that came on the PS1, but it hasn't radically changed a whole lot. One thing that I did read was that it uses an updated version of the Game Boy Advance's translation, so if you didn't like that, you're probably not going to like this. I think the pricing is one thing that a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about. You can buy the entire bundle for 20% off on Steam right now at $60.79. You will get Final Fantasy 1 through 6, and is currently really the only way to buy it and not pay a crazy amount. I myself have just opted only to get Final Fantasy IV, so it was about $18, which I found to be on the very steep end, but I definitely wasn't going to give them $60 for a bunch of old games that they've done a little things to. Another thing I wanted to mention was a couple things that they've removed. So if you guys have played the Game Boy Advance version of Final Fantasy IV or the complete version for the PS1, you will know at the end of the game that there is no Cave of Trials or the Lunar Ruins. Both have been removed in this version. I have no idea why, but that's what they chose to do. I haven't quite beat the game yet, but I put about 4 hours into it so far, I believe. I have just recently got to Mysidia for the first time and completed the quest that Cecil needs to. I'm not going to mention it, but if you know, you know. As far as closing remarks go, I will have to say that I really do enjoy the game. I don't enjoy the price tag of $17.99, and honestly, I can't recommend it super high for people unless you're like me and you just really love Final Fantasy IV. I felt like it was a decent buy for myself only because I've really only emulated it on the SNES before. I don't have the PSP versions or the PS1 or the Game Boy Advance version, so it was nice to have a good legal copy of it again, which I can play and kind of go through the experience again. Storyline is pretty awesome. I do enjoy it a lot. Alternatively, if you're not interested in this version, I cannot recommend you picking up a MSU hack of this game. You can find them all over online. Due to legal reasons, I won't be putting any links in the bottom, but it is an option for you if you want to get that nice high quality soundtrack added in. It will not have all the other little quality of life things that they added in on this version, but you will get the good high quality soundtrack, and you can play through your original experience on the SNES. As always, if you guys like anime gameplay, news, and reviews, please feel free to hit subscribe, and if you like the content, smash the thumbs up button. It really helps you out. I will catch you guys later on the next one. Yokoso out.